So this is a story of some mistakes that you can make when trying to build $1 million TFSA, and a story of how it doesn't always turn out rainbows and sunshines. So Paul is a 64-year-old retiree from British Columbia, and he opened his TFSA just like a lot of people in this series way back in 2009 when it was first introduced. He made the maximum contributions over the years, totaling up to $95,000 in 2024. So back in 2017, he read that it may make sense for individuals to put more risky investments inside of their TFSA. So he swapped out his relatively stable banking sector ETFs for shares of companies with higher growth rates. So before retiring, Paul was a designer, renovator, and builder of custom homes in BC. So over the years, Paul put a good portion of his earnings into his RRSP, and he also has a paid off home. He also added to his retirement fund after the sale of his parents' home after they passed away. All of this is stated to kind of allude to the fact that even though he's taking these large risks, he kind of has this nest egg and cushion should shit hit the fan later on, right? So if you don't have things like this in place, you probably shouldn't, at an older age, probably shouldn't take on these risks. I mean, even at a younger age, again, diversity is key, right? You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket or two baskets, right? You want to diversify. If you have other things in place, such as a paid off home, for example, or another investment account that's more conservative and more diversified, then sure, swing for the fences, because it is possible to get to millions of dollars, as we see in this series. So he bought Canopy Growth back in 2017, and it was a four-bagger for him. If you don't get the terminology, four-bagger basically means he made 4 times his money, or it 4x'd from his initial investment. So I guess Paul knew that 4 times his money was more than enough, so he sold the investment, which is a smart move. He locked in the gains, right, by selling. In 2017 and 2018, he bought shares, probably with the Canopy Growth gains. He rolled that into NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is a semiconductor chip company that makes chips for video games, computers, and now more recently, AI, or artificial intelligence, as we all know. With what we all know now, seeing that we're in the future compared to 2017 and 18, you would think that he did pretty well. But unfortunately, Paul was in the red for a long period of time until 2020 with his NVIDIA shares. So because Paul waited so long to break even on his shares, the moment he saw himself be in a profitable position, I guess he sold because he was unsure of the future of NVIDIA. Many people probably are in the same exact boat as him. So I looked at the chart for NVIDIA, and he probably bought between $5 to $7 USD back in 2017, and it did not climb above $6 USD until 2020. So it's a long time to hold the stock. He could have sold for a loss, but he held long enough, saw a profit, pulled the money out. You live and you learn, right? Like, unless you really, really understand investing and the sector you're investing in and the business you're investing in. Some people have experienced a lot of pain investing, right? Not in terms of losing money, but in terms of selling too soon. Also in 2017 and 18, Paul invested into Chinese companies as their economy was booming with government direction and commitment to capitalism. So he bought Tencent Holdings, Alibaba, and Crane Shares MSCI, which holds a lot of EV or electric vehicle and solar panel companies. So what happened with Paul's TFSA? So his TFSA never exceeded $125,000 in value, which would have been at the time a double of what he had deposited, which is pretty good, honestly, especially when you compare it to people who don't invest or people who are invested in more, conservative investments, such as like dividend paying stocks that people buy for dividend yield and not necessarily for growth. Doubling your money over, we don't know how long, but I think if we go from 2017 over 7 years, you could have bought the S&P 500 index, but still not terrible. So basically, he started with a 4-bagger, but his other picks of stocks canceled out his gains. So this didn't turn out as well as the other stories, but this is kind of like the average scenario, right, for people doing the same things that a lot of these people in this series are doing. But luckily for Paul, he has a paid off home, and he has other retirement funds that are more than enough for him. So anything that he made in the TFSA would have been a bonus. I feel like that factors into decision making as well, because if you know you have other stuff, you're probably not going to take this as seriously, and that's probably why you would make the decisions that you do, right? Anyways, once again, this is a shorter one, but it's a nice change from the typical story where so you kind of know, hey, like this is somebody who actually didn't get to that level, but could have if they had held on to a certain company. But again, this whole series is very, very powerful in terms of learning what to do and what not to do. Right? And what is possible if you have the risk tolerance and if you have the right financial cushion, if you can afford to take on those risks. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one.